Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Unthink podcast. Today we have with us Brandi Guccion. And thank you so much, Brandi, for joining us. It was really amazing meeting you at the DFW REA event. I think that's where we met. And
Yeah,
I'd love to hear more about you and tell the audience more about yourself and your background.
absolutely. Thank you for having me, Tina. This is great. I really enjoy talking about your company, and I'm excited to talk to you today. So I started out in advertising, and then for the past 20 years, I've been in retail marketing. I've had a number of marketing roles within various retailers across discount, mass, and jewelry. Most recently, I was the vice president of marketing at Signet Jewelers for Banter by Piercing Pagoda. And in that role, I handled all of marketing, including brand, digital marketing, and our e-com business.
Awesome. Yeah. So you had a great variety in your roles, right? You worked with jewelry, you worked with the other big box retail
Mhm.
stores, and you worked across brand marketing, digital. What was your favorite job in all of these? Like, which was your favorite role? Which did you really love?
Um, I've learned and taken lessons from all of the jobs that I've had. I would say probably the last role that I had, I loved the most, just because one, I that brand had just been spun off into its own business, and so I got to start the marketing department, hire a team, build a team, and I touched every aspect of the marketing. So helped to set the tone, did a rebrand. I just was able to touch so much of that and felt like I really impacted the people I worked with, the brand, and then also sales. It was most impactful. So it was really rewarding.
Yeah, yes. So the ability to make impact is important for everybody, especially when you
Absolutely.
work in a larger setup. And there are so many legacy processes that come in the
Hmm.
way sometimes of innovation. They come in the way of doing things in a better way.
Yes.
And today, in the age of AI, we're seeing that agility is the biggest superpower, right?
Right.
Because the brands that do adopt technology, do adopt new ways of working, adopt to the Gen Z and the new demands of marketing are going to be ahead of the game
Yeah,
today.
absolutely. And when
Yeah.
you work in a large corporation, there's pros and cons. It's great because you have a lot of resources. You
Yes.
have procurement teams and you have, larger budgets and you have more people behind the scenes helping out. But at the same time, those are the exact reasons that sometimes it's a con. With that
Yeah.
comes process. You try to onboard a vendor and it can take 6 months, just going through all of the legal, all of the hoops that you have to go through in a large corporation. So it does sometimes hinder the ability to be agile.
Yes.
Luckily, my last role, my band president was very pro adopting new things and trying new things. And so we were able sometimes to get things started a little faster, but that is a problem with large corporations, absolutely.
Yeah. So how do you tell me something about the last role in terms of the process? So you were a brand marketer. So what were the KPIs and what did you? So when you so there are multiple stages in the customer acquisition flow, right? Like first is the brand awareness, then their engagement, how often they come to your site, then the finally
Right.
down the funnel. And I think typically today the funnel is not linear. It doesn't necessarily start from one and go to n. There are people who might just like immediately see something and want to buy it right there, versus
Right.
people who take a longer cycle because they want to go through the entire process. So tell me
Absolutely.
about the process and tell me about what sort of KPIs you were tracking. How did you go about, the whole process of customer acquisition?
Yeah. So we were driving both to store and to e-com.
Hmm.
And we had both products and piercings as a service.
Hmm.
And so, our KPIs and kind of what we were driving to sometimes varied. And so we did acquisition activities, but then we also had performance marketing to drive e-com. So it was a lot of marrying activities. We would do things like PR. We had in-store signage. We had, at one point, we were running online video and display, things that were more acquisition. And then we also then were doing further down the funnel a lot of, search and affiliate and SMS and email and things that were focused more on gaining e-com purchase, and then also customer retention.
Mhm.
And I think that's one huge part of the funnel now. Obviously, there's upfront, looking at your website in order to decide if they even want to purchase. Um, there's the customer acquisition, there's maintaining that consideration, there's purchase, but then now I think retention is even more important than it ever been.
Yeah. And I believe customer loyalty is much lower than it used to be just because there are so many options. Gen Z behavior is very different from traditional consumers because they go first to Instagram or TikTok to find inspiration, right? How do you think marketers can react to this from a brand perspective?
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a huge problem. Loyalty is at an all-time low, and I think that's because, one, as you mentioned, more competition than ever before. Two, the economy, people are looking at price. I think the past couple of years, we've really trained customers not to buy things at full price, wait for a sale.
Mhm.
And then three, I think also because of fast fashion, everything has a shorter cycle. Everything is trendier and people aren't looking to buy things for the long term, it feels like. So I think it's really important for brands to focus on a couple of things. Number one, retention of their existing customers.
Mhm.
And that can be done through things like their email, SMS, organic, social, but continuing to provide relevant, interesting content to keep those customers engaged. And often it's re-engagement campaigns as well if they haven't purchased in a while, but really retaining those customers that they do have and drawing frequency. And then I think it's so important in this economy for brands not to completely pull back on their marketing spend and cut awareness. I think right now it's really easy for people to just focus on performance marketing and really just focus in on making sure that they're driving instant sales. But there has to be an element of maintaining that brand awareness right now, and really creating that long-term relationship with customers.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what happens, in my view, let me know if you agree or not. There was a time when much bulk of the money was spent on brand marketing and awareness because there was an assumption that if you do a great job of branding, people will come to you and
Right.
remember you and then shop. And then later there was a change saying that, okay, there's a lot of, you need to track whether that's actually making money or not
Mm-hmm.
because budgets started
Right.
dropping. And
Right.
now there is the opposite trend where a lot of brands are looking at, okay, I'll only do this if it makes sense and if it's going to result in a direct conversion. But
Right.
unfortunately, the customer doesn't care about where the brand is spending money, and the customer's attention span is so low that you have to be, the brand has to be a top of the mind recall.
Mm-hmm.
The brand has to
Exactly.
engage the customer and convert them all at the same time.
Right. Right. You have to have that entire mix. You have to have, filling the funnel, then also driving people down the funnel. You have to do all of it. I've seen a lot of think pieces recently about Nike and how they've always been, in demand. And in the past year or two, they had focused more on conversion tactics,
Yes.
really focusing on ROI. And that's one reason
Mhm.
why belief is they're losing share and sales are down, which is
Yeah.
fascinating because when you think about Nike, you think about brand. But even them, when you take your foot off the brake and you stop branding, you see the results.
Yes, because there are a lot of other sports brands that do a lot of community building, right? They do
Mm-hmm.
events, they do running club
Mm-hmm.
events, and
Right.
then they have
Right.
whole community around the, like, I think Luke Lockers, if I remember, had something.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they used to be like a running club, and then they had
Mm-hmm.
completely. So it's not just about, oh, Nike is an awesome brand and has great
Mm-hmm.
products, but people still forget because there are other brands also.
Right.